National Group of Schools, Mrs. Toyin Oboh.
Thank you, everyone. Say, I will rest. I will take care of myself because God is in control. All right. Good morning, distinguished guests, partners, parents, friends, and our wonderful, esteemed parents that live with children with special needs. Today, we're gathered to celebrate the International Family Day, a day that highlights the strength, unity, and power of families. But for us as Jerusalem Lights Foundation and Group of Schools, it's so much more. It is a chance to shine a light on the heroes amongst us, the parents who tirelessly nurture children with special needs, the educators who go above and beyond, and the communities that rally around them. I would like the staff, some of the staff present here of Jews Leading Lights to stand up and give a standing ovation to all our dear parents. Put your hands together for them as we celebrate too. Physical, developmental, behavioral, or emotional differences requires additional support to thrive. These are children who have been born really specially. But let me make this clear. The peculiarity of a special child is not in their limitations, it's in their strengths. These children are gifted, unique, and capable of extraordinary things when given the right support and environment. What they need is not sympathy. What they need is understanding, inclusion, and the opportunity to grow and learn, just like every other child. At Jews Leading Lights Foundation, we're committed to providing that environment. We believe that every child, regardless of their challenges, deserves a fair shot at quality education. But we also know that the cost of special needs education is a burden too heavy for many families to bear. This is why the Jews Leading Lights Foundation exists. It is to bridge that gap and make education and support accessible to families who need it most. One of our key findings from the Nigerian Special Needs Policy is no enforcement mechanism. There is currently no independent monetary body or penalties for non-compliance with the policy. The National Policy on Special Needs Education in Nigeria, which was established 2015, has outlined some efforts towards inclusivity. But the lack of enforcement means that many institutions are not held accountable for the education and well-being of special needs children. I remember that recently I went to I had an outreach in a rural area in Abuja here, and a child was displaying, and this is a child living with Down syndrome. And the caregivers around, they started to hit this boy. They started to hit him, and hit him, And I had to scream out. I said, it is not his fault. Why are you hitting him? So there is still a huge lack of awareness amongst caregivers, amongst families. There's a case of a family who locks up their child who lives with a bit of retardation. They lock him up in the room all day by himself. But we can't blame them. This is because there is really no support. The second missing gap is the data vacuum. One of the most significant gaps in the absence of a centralized database for children with special needs. This makes it nearly impossible to track development, allocate resources effectively, or even measure the true scale of needs across the country. So you see that most institutions who have special needs department, we do not even have data. We do not have a hub where we can pull out resources, where we can collaborate and help. Globally, countries like South Africa and Kenya have taken steps to enforce inclusive policies with regular third-party audits, while Ghana and South Africa have introduced wheelchair-friendly school buses to ease transportation challenges. Unfortunately, these global best practices are not really reflected in our Nigerian's framework. And that's why in Just Leading Lights International, you notice we had to invest heavily in building the ramp. The ramp is especially for children that live with one form of disability or the other. So these are recommendations from Just Leading Lights Foundation. We're advocating for stronger, more strategic policies that will transform the landscape for special needs children in Nigeria. The first is to mandate early developmental screening. I remember one of our parents who shared the testimony of how she didn't even know her son had any form of special needs. And I had to call her. We still have parents in school today who, when we approach them to say, please, we think that your child will need some form of screening or the other, they start to tell us, God forbid, they start to, yell and scream. But you see, if the government puts policies in place where the screening is mandatory, I feel that a lot of things will be arrested and interventions will be given early. Introduce caregiver support policy. We propose labor law amendments for early closure if possible, flexible hours, caregiver leaves. No parent should have to choose between work and their child's well-being, especially when the child lives with special needs. We propose creating a disability data registry. I've talked about that. Establishing an IEP legal framework. This is to push for mandatory individualized educational plans across all public and private schools with regular audits for compliance. I know this sounds like a dream, but it's possible. Fund school-based mental health teams. Advocate for at least one counselor or therapist for every 100 special needs parents. Mental health is as important as physical health. We're also proposing to implement accessible transport policy, to also launch an enforcement and monitoring body, and also public awareness and anti-stigma campaign. We had a parent who had to leave, or some who have refused to come because of stigma. Our commitment at Just Leading Lights Foundation, our commitment to special needs education is unshakable. On World Autism Day, 2nd April, we hosted a virtual summit that brought together over 550 parents, educators, and special needs advocates to discuss inclusive education, early intervention, and parental support. It was an inspiring session that not only educated but also empowered parents to take bold steps in nurturing their special children. We are not just taking up change. We are here to create platforms where change happens. And so we're calling, our call to action is that today we're not just celebrating families of children living with special needs, but we are standing with them. As part of our campaign, we have designed, or I designed a book, and it's a beautiful book. I believe all of you will be given a copy of that book. I urge you to please share it with every parent that you know who has a child living with special needs. It's called Perfectly Made. Perfectly Made. Let's spread the word. Let's raise awareness. Let's change lives, one child at a time. But I want to call on you parents who are here in the hall, to promise that you will be the evangelist to other parents living with special needs, of children living with special needs. That when we see a parent who is overwhelmed, we step in. When we see a parent who is confused and doesn't even know what is happening, we wouldn't turn the other eye. We will step in. It can be through our prayers. It can be just saying, you know what, I get you. It can be going to that parent's house and saying, let me help you with one therapy session that works for me. Collaboration must first start with this community before it comes out from the outside. If we do not stand by ourselves, who will? Who will? In this hall today, how many of us know ourselves? How many of us reach out to each other? How many of us even say, sister, how are you? How was the week? Are we pulling through? Are we standing strong? No. This is a call to say, can we please stand by each other? Would you be making that promise today? You know, nodding your head is not an answer. Will you be making that promise today? Yes. So we'll do something very quickly. I want you to stand up, look at yourselves. There are some of you don't have your numbers, you don't know each other. Move, talk to each other, collect contacts quickly. Say hello. I'm giving you 5 minutes. Stand up and move, please.